Next, we're going to do estimation using some graphs. So first, let's start with circle graphs. They're also called pie charts. They're divided into parts called sectors, those pieces. The figure on the next slide shows a graph that indicates how many Americans disagree as to when old age begins. So let's look at it. So some 32% say that it begins when there's a decline in mental functioning. 41% say there's a decline in physical ability when old age begins. 3% say when you become a grandparent. 14% say when you reach a specific age. 1% don't know, and 9% say when you start retirement. Now the question says, according to the U.S. Census Bureau in 2020, there were 249,019,818 Americans 25 years and older. Assuming the circle graph on the previous slide is representative of this age group, use the appropriate information displayed by the graph to determine a calculation that shows the number of Americans 25 years or older who define old age by a decline in physical ability. And then next they want us to use rounding to estimate that calculation. So if we go back to our graph, physical ability, decline in physical ability, was 41%. So part A shows how to figure it out exactly. You would do 0.41 for your 41% times the total number of Americans 25 years or older, and that would give you an exact answer. But what if we just wanted to estimate? So part B says, if we're estimating, what would we change this to? Okay, if we wanted to round to the nearest percent, we would call that 40% or 0.4. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to look at that total, the population. Well, what if we wanted to round here? Okay, so to the 10 million. What if we did that? If you look at the next number on the right, it says you add 1 and turn the rest to zeros. So we've got 250 million. Now this is much easier to multiply quickly than to multiply the exact numbers, especially if you didn't have a calculator. So this would be 100 million. So the approximate answer would be 100 million Americans 25 years and older define old age by a decline in physical ability. Let's look at a bar graph. Okay, so bar graphs can have vertical, up and down bars, or horizontal, go right to left. The length of the bar determines the amount, and we can use these to make predictions. So the bar graph on the next slide shows life expectancy in the United States by year of birth. So let's look at it. Red is your males, yellow is your females, okay? By your year of birth, you're looking at your life expectancy here. The years over here, that's your life expectancy, and this is the year of your birth. Okay, so you can kind of see that it's increasing here, okay? So if you look at, let's say, females in 1950 was 71.1, but in 2020, it's 81.9. So let's see what we're going to do. It says estimate a male, so we're doing male, that was the red lines, and their increased life expectancy rounded to the nearest hundredth, okay, that's 2 places past the decimal of a year, for each subsequent birth year. Okay, so what we're looking at for each year, so we want to know overall how much is it increasing. So we're going to start here with 77.1, okay, and 65.6, okay, so over those years, it increased from 65.6 to 71.1. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 77.1 minus 65.6. We're basically figuring out a slope, you guys, okay? So the change in life expectancy over the change in years. Well, the years went from 2020 back to 1950. Now, when you divide that out and you round it, you get 0.16. So that means it increases by approximately 0.16 every year. Now, let's use that. Part B says, estimate the life expectancy of a man born in 2030. Okay, well, it started in 1950 at 65.6. Plus, we know it's going to go up 0.16 each year. Now we just have to figure out what we're going to multiply by to get to 2030. So it goes up 0.16 each year. Sorry, it's not very neat there. They had a typo in their slide and I had to fix it. So if we start at 1950, let's see how many years after 1950 2030 is. So this would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 2030 would be over here. Whoops, and I got off the slide. 2030 would be over there on the right, and that would be 80 years past. Okay, so 2030 would be right here. And that would be 80 years past 1950. Okay, so they did 0.16 times 80. You get 12.8. Add that to your 65.6 because this is how much it's increased, and the answer would be 78.4. That would be the approximate life expectancy for a man in 2030 who was born in 2030.